G'day listeners and welcome back to another episode of the Keeper League podcast. We're the AFL fantasy podcast that doesn't talk about the superstars. We only talk about the less knowns and the players who will bring value to your draft and Keeper League teams. My name's Hef. The preseason is officially over and here to talk about the Amy Community Series. I think it's the Amy these days, I don't even know. Is my good mate Zanks. How you going, buddy?
Hef, amazing to be here at Casa de Hef or Studio Hef, whatever.
Keeper Studios, I think we go with now as the official working title.
It's an amazing setup. I think, it's definitely grown from what it was when you first started, but great to be back here.
The last time you were here, we're in what is now my son's playroom, who is too old to play in it now. So, I should actually probably move it back into a studio. But now we're in the spare bedroom these days.
What a setup.
For those who have been listening to these podcasts for a few years, thanks. I've usually done these podcasts, the Amy Community Series, from your spare bedroom over in Melbourne. But we're actually in the studio this time around, which is nice.
Don't live in Melbourne anymore, so that would make it really hard.
Yeah.
Moved back to Adelaide, so it's great to be here in Studio Hef.
And that means we might hear a bit more from you this season. Unfortunately for our listeners.
If you're scraping the bottom of the barrel, mate.
I reckon we've always put on good episodes, mate. So I think the listeners will be happy with this one. But like we said before, we're going to get stuck into the community series. We won't delay too much because we do have a lot to get through. But before we do, let's talk about our good friends at Keeper Fantasy, the best fantasy platform on the internet, don't you think, Zanks?
But yeah, I think so. Yeah,
better than ESPN, better than Yahoo.
I have 4 different leagues on there at the moment, so
actually the same.
Currently in the middle of a draft, so
we might have to do some live picks on air. Perhaps we're in the middle of a start-up single season draft with some mates from the footy club. So I just made my last pick. I took Chris Petrarca at pick 32. So yeah, I don't know.
Are you going to take any picks that aren't a reach this draft?
Nah, that never happens. I always reach for everyone. So but anyway, so that's on the Keeper Fantasy platform. We're doing that one. Drafts are obviously now open. They're probably almost finished, but they're bigger and better than ever. They've got the new position-based scoring, so make sure you check that out if you want a different way to play. And that's just a taste of what Keeper can do. If you want to see more, go and check it out. If you want to play a serious draft league, not a Mickey Mouse one, not a one for wannabes, Keeper Fantasy is where it's at, where the true fantasy players play.
I mean, it's for keeping, it's for single season. Obviously, in the Shiva as well as the ranks sort of, or the order of merit came out today. So I think the platform itself gives so much more flexibility, and it's great to have a couple of different ways of playing the game.
Speaking of the Shiva order of merit, what div did you pull this time around?
I think it was 25, so that's not too bad considering how garbage I've been the last term. Last year, I actually drafted from on an aeroplane.
Okay, that doesn't sound good.
Wi-Fi was sort of jumping in and out, so there was a couple of dodgy picks in there, but overall was not too bad. Not quite like your results out of last year.
My Champions League finishing season, you mean? Finally got into a Champions League. I don't know which one that is yet, but I think I should be 2 or 3, something like that.
Win a flag. Top divs aren't too far away.
No, I got to get there. Got to get there this year. We'll keep cracking. All right. Before we get stuck into the community series review, just a few updates on the Keeper League side of things. I'll do my last ranking update tomorrow and I aim to have it uploaded to the website by Wednesday. So for those people who are draft on opening round, probably a good time to do it because you've seen 2 lots of practice matches, plus you get the weekend's games to have a look at. Those ranks will be there for you. If you've already drafted already, well, bad luck. You just miss out. and projections are now up for opening round as well. If you're crazy and you play through those rounds or you kind of use those scores, which it's actually not that crazy to use opening round scores. It's as good as any than using averages or using best 14, I think we do over the first few bye rounds. It's as good as any way to do it. You're lucky you've got the Keeper platform to do that. But yeah, opening round projections are now up on the site too if you want to check those out. All right, let's get stuck into the first match of the round. Carlton versus Jalong. First one on my list here is Jagga Smith. Now, we've only ever made one player in the history of the Keeper League podcast too good for the podcast before they've even played a game, and that was Nick Dacos. But I think we have to do it to Jagga Smith. Do you have any objections with that?
Nah, he's got to be gone. I think even just looking at his practice match and community series footy, even in the some of the video that was being put out where he was the only one hitting a target during training, I think sort of shows how good he can be with the footy. I think he had 18 CBAs across the weekend with obviously Hewitt, Cripps and Walsh in there. My only call out is that while he is too good for the pod, I'm not sure how Carlton are going to go about scoring around 1,900 fantasy points a game like they did this week. So it feels like while that's the top end of his scoring, he might fall back a little bit just simply because of the total share that he has.
I would comment on that, but it's just come up as my pick.
Oh, your pick?
My pick in the draft. So we'll do it live on air, live on a pre-recorded podcast. I've got pick 33. Looking at the ADPs, Cozzy Pickett's going around this stage. Do I do it? Pull the trigger on Cozzy Pickett and get two of the best forwards in the game. I reckon I'm going to do that. Cozzy Pickett at pick 34, and I've got two forwards locked away for my team already. But Jagga Smith, too good for the podcast. Don't know what you said. I was just focusing on my pick. And welcome Cozzy Pickett to the Big Hoofers single season draft league. Let's move on to Cooper Lord, 114 points on the weekend. Is he ready to go next level, or is this just a bump because Chera's out? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's probably more to do with that Chera's out. But even if that is the case, it does feel like he's probably just the next into that rotation. It feels like if you can get him to tick along in the meantime, it only takes one of those guys to get an injury and he can have that big jump up there again as well. So, yes, it is, I think, because of that, but he's probably the next in there.
Yeah, I think so too. And Cripps is getting on. He's 31 now, I'm going to say. Hewitt's late 20s. They're going to have to start transitioning sooner rather than later, so he's probably the next one in there. He's a good prospect for your keeper league teams. Elijah Holland had a bit of a debate on the Discord a few weeks ago where, I think it was when Kays was on the podcast and someone basically said, would you take Elijah Hollands with pick 16, your 16th round pick, in a draft, in a keeper league draft? And we kind of said no, because this was at the stage he wasn't on a list, and it was very hard to say, and we didn't know whether he'd sorted out all of his issues. But looking at him now, with the 108 points on the weekend, kind of playing wing and half forward, had a big score. Do you think it's probably wise to take him now as an on-field forward?
As a forward, considering how thin it really is, I think probably from some of the transition scores that I saw on the weekend, his ability to take mark and be within that scoring chain was really quite high level of involvement. And it's just a matter of if he's going to be able to keep his head straight and be able to stay in that best 23. And I feel like given how thin the forwards are, he's a great opportunity.
Yeah, I think so as well. I was a bit doubtful started when the news came out and said he was training and all that sort of stuff and could be taken again. But now that I've seen him in action, score well, I'm starting to believe again. Just got to keep his head screwed on and, make sure he plays each week and doesn't do anything stupid off the field. Oliver Hollands, his brother, had 91 points. He was on a wing for most of the night, a little bit of halfback, but what are your thoughts with him? Do you reckon he's someone we can finally trust? Or
the hardest part there is you've got two different roles. If he's on the wing, probably not. If he's off half back, that's definitely where I think he's going to be able to be utilised better. If we can find his way, we can help him find his way to half back. I'd definitely be up for taking him as an option. But if he is going to play that wing, it does feel like that's where a lot of fantasy players go to die.
That said, and we'll probably mention this throughout this podcast, quite a few wingers scored okay on the weekend. So I'm not sure if that's and I've been kind of saying this on the podcast throughout the preseason, it's if stoppage scoring is going to go down, which it appears like it has, surely transition scoring goes up, which favours the wingers. So maybe that's to make a case for him. The thing I will say with his positioning with the wing and all that sort of stuff, we haven't seen Lockie Cowan yet. We haven't seen Nick Newman yet, who's going to spend 2 weeks suspended, if you haven't heard that yet. So there's still a few halfbackers to come back into that side, and he's already kind of playing on the wing a fair bit. So
yeah, and I think also the next person you're going to probably talk about here is also another one of those half-backers that is more likely to play that role rather than he will as well.
Yeah, so Zach Williams is the guy Zanks is talking about. He had 88 points playing the half-back, like I mentioned before, missing Cowan and Newman, so I'm not buying into this one too much until we see what their full lineup looks like, you think?
Yeah, especially now that Newman's obviously been knocked out for a couple of weeks with suspension. What did he get done for in the VFL? It was...
I don't know, but it was 2 weeks. Yeah, that's all I know. Yeah. Wade Dirksen is the next one. Keep getting Team America references whenever Wade Dirksen is mentioned, but we won't go into that one too much. He had 83 points. Playing in defence is kind of like that third tall, key tall. Just took a heaps of marks, and it kind of frees Kemp up to play forward, I think, which is handy for Carlton. Do you think he stays in the best 22?
My gut feel is probably not, but again, if you're throwing darts at a dartboard and you...
Which is what we're all doing.
Yeah, last and second last sort of round, I don't think that there's worse picks you can sort of go for, but yeah, I'm not sold that he's best 23 at the moment.
We got Wiedering and Haynes to come back into the side, so yeah, that makes it a bit tricky to see what he's going to do going forward, but the signs are good, that's all. A lot of people are probably going to start him in Classic, I reckon, just given the bargain basement, which I've retired from, but I haven't announced that publicly yet. Anyway, Oliver Florent is the next one. 80 points, starting on a wing, then going to had stints on the wing, but then went to halfback for a fair bit of the game as well. If he plays halfback, I'll like him a lot more, but again, like, who knows what the makeup's going to be come round one.
Yeah, and probably he did... Sorry, go there again. He definitely played more on the wing, but he was actually folding back more behind the ball. So while he was playing off that sort of the interconnector role, he was definitely playing more back and being able to get possession back.
In the last quarter, I was watching pretty closely. He actually started down back as well. So like it feels like it is a shift to kind of move him back a bit more. But I think they're just trying to like test people because like I said, Hollands times 2 on the wings, Campbell Chesser, you got Florent. Like, I just have no idea how it's actually going to look come the start of the season, and we'll get a better idea next Thursday night, I guess. But yeah, if he stays on halfback, he's a lot nicer prospect, that's for sure. Mark Pitnet's just clearly the number 1 ruck. We don't really have to debate that too much, do we?
Easy lay down with his hair.
Tanner Bruhn had 108 points. Moving on to the Geelong players. Halfback in the first quarter and racked it up. I think it was 10 touches and then 50 points you've got written here.
Yeah, from the numbers I could see, he hit the old quarter pounder as the AFL fantasy boys talk about. But yeah, had a gigantic first quarter and sort of being able to be moved into the midfield a little bit further later in the game.
Yeah, no, not a bad game from Tanner Bruhn. I'd love to see it one more time. You know, he missed the first game with illness. He's going very late in drafts though, so he's probably a bit of a slider.
Yeah, and I mean it's just great to see that he's recovered from that horrible finger injury that he had last year that kept him out for the full 12 months.
Moving on, Lawson Humphries, 83 points. Not much to really say about this game. I just like him a lot, that's all, and I think he's probably going to go next level. I think he goes an 80-plus average this season.
Yeah, agree. I think he's actually getting a lot more responsibility for the ball as Holmes probably moves a little bit more into the middle and someone like Stewart takes a little bit more of a back seat. So he's definitely a very smooth mover and can move the ball at speed with his feet as well.
Jack Martin had 71 points from 63% time on ground. This is a Jack Martin classic, really. He just comes on, kicks 4 goals in a second like he did in that game last year. But can we trust him? Like, no. He scores well in low time on ground.
No.
He's I don't even know if he's best 23, to be honest. He only had 1 kick in the grand final.
No,
Jack Martin.
Maybe a streamer at absolute best, but come on. I know we're searching for forwards and of the like, but surely we're not have to go to this area.
He went very late in our draft, I think. He was a handy player for me last season. He played the last 6 or 7 games of the season for my team and was put up some decent scores. George Stevens is the next one. 74 points from 40% time on ground. So when he went to the midfield, when he was on, he had 14 CBAs. So not really sure how he makes that midfield, in the long run. But I don't know. I've been impressed by his preseason. That's all.
And that's what it is. It's another classic version of that preseason that while others are out like Bailey Smith and Myers and Stengel, he gets a game and gets a crack at that better role. Look, maybe a stash for that sort of longer term option, but really I'm not sure how he becomes best 23 or that constant best 23 this year.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree. It's hard to see him in that side long term. Sydney versus GWS, we'll move on to that game now. Angus Sheldrick is the first one on my list, and that's probably because he scored 117 points. I would say that the conditions actually suited him, but he was carving up before the rain came in as well, so he just kind of continued all day. I was saying during the preseason, I reckon that Sydney needed to promote a midfielder from within their ranks to come into the guts, to kind of let Heaney play forward a lot more, and Heaney played a lot more forward in this game because of Sheldrick playing the guts. But I thought that kind of next guy in would be Cleary, but I don't know if it is going to be now. It looks like it might be Sheldrick, which... I don't know, I've kind of written him off. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I really thought that Cleary was probably the next guy in as well. Look, it's not impossible that he does get this role, but you do get the feeling that when the chips are down and the heat comes, it's likely that they're going to be pushing the Heeneys, the Warners and Errols back into those types of rotations. So, and obviously the major call out in this practice match or community series game was for Errol that did miss a fair bit of time there as well. So maybe he got a little bit more of a bump because of that.
Yeah, but no, it's definitely an interesting one to watch because we've been Sheldrick's been floating around on our list for a long time, and he seems to finally, judging on one preseason game, seems to
he's made it.
Maybe seems to be making his move at the moment.
Pick him with your next pick then, Hef. Come on.
That's a bit early for that one. Riley Bice is the next one on my list. He had 69 points. Nice. I think he plays a bit of footy this year, that halfback role. It's not a bad score for these conditions.
Yeah, considering you could get around in a canoe as in the change rooms at one stage.
I did see that. They were underwater, weren't they?
My biggest problem here is there's just so many mouths to feed across halfback with the Swans. So I definitely feel like he fits their mould of what they're trying to do, especially with that raking left foot. But I'm not really sure if he gets the vibe or the ability to be able to become a consistent fantasy scorer.
Yeah, I think he fluctuates a bit, but I think it's going to be Mills, it's going to be Blakey, and I think it's going to be Bice. It's kind of like their three users on the halfback line or in defence, and he might get a bit of a share when one of those guys has a low game. That's the way I'm thinking. Not much else for Sydney. It was a pretty shit game in shit conditions. Toby Green moving on to GWS. He had 98 points, but no Callaghan, no Tom Green, obviously, but he was back in the midfield. Had the most CBAs, I think. Is that correct?
He did, yeah. He had 20 with top the Giants with Caniglio with 18 and Oliver 15.
Now, we're saying that Toby Green's back. He's been I think a 90-plus average guy in the past when he was playing in the midfield.
I think so, yeah. I think there is a note to be saying how will he go when the likes of Bedford, Daniels and Callaghan come back in. I get the feeling that he's more likely to play still up forward, but just have a bit more of that rotation to be a bit up and around the football. There
was said that he has been training as a midfielder all preseason, so I think he's definitely going to play extended. But yeah, it's just like he said, how much is that mid forward kind of split going to be? But I think if you're a contending team, you don't really give a shit about age.
So you're a contending team.
Yeah.
What do you look to trade for him in season? Obviously, our draft's done and dusted and all these types of things, but what are you sort of trying to swindle him for?
You've put me on the spot because I look at our team, right, and the guy who can only think purely of who owns him. I don't think I have anything I can offer the coach who actually owns him that is like up and coming, because my team's so old as well. Like, I just don't know how we'd actually get that trade done. You know what I mean? But I guess it's always the case of if you want a player like Toby Green in a contending team, you just have to offer a youthful player that might not be putting up huge numbers straight away, but maybe like your Taj Hottons or it's the guys that are kind of injured that are now down the pecking order or stuff like that. I think that's the only way you kind of get something like that done, I reckon. But yeah, like I said, I don't know how to actually get that trade done in our league.
I can't wait for you to try.
I don't think I really need him. I've got enough forwards. It's fine.
No wonder you've moved rooms. Your head's too big to fit into the other one.
Well, more so that my team's not going to win with this list. It's not going to win at all, so it doesn't really matter. And it's probably not. I'll lose my third grand final in a row and my team will be dust. Harry Ralston's the next one. 73 points. I thought the conditions would suit him more than it kind of did in this game, being that kind of clearance in and under kind of midfielder, but it was pretty wet. I guess it might be tricky. But I think it's just still good signs that he put up a 73 in these conditions, because not many Giants actually scored that well. Like James Leake had 70 points. He was solid. I just don't like him behind Ash and Whitfield. He didn't really play much of this game. So, yeah, what do you think?
I agree. I really like James Leake. I had him in our league last year, and he obviously
started well, didn't he?
Yeah, a couple of matches, but really probably was more of a failure pick. But the idea is that it's just again one of those so many mouths to feed, especially when you've got such great ball users with the likes of Whitfield,
Ash,
and then Ash back there as well. They run, carry, and they deliver the ball so well. It really dries up a lot more of the football back there.
Yep, no, I agree. He's probably not going to make it this season. Stephen Caniglio had 74 points, nothing special, but had a big uptick in CBAs. I don't have faith in him, but it's more so that if there are a few players down with injury, he might have a bit of an uptick, that's all.
But it feels like he's played that role for maybe the last 3 years now, sort of thing.
He's not a forward in fantasy, is he?
No.
Yeah, so it's not really valuable at all. Yeah, well, we'll move on. Let's go to Brisbane versus Gold Coast. Levi Ashcroft, don't really have too much to say. He's just 104 points. Do you reckon he has a big breakout season this year?
Oh, 100%. He has all the tools and the pedgree to be able to score. I'm just not really sure who he takes that market share from effectively. Whether he takes score from someone like a Rayner or a Bailey, or does he take it from another midfielder like like a McLuggage or something like that.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you, but the thing is, like, a lot of those midfielders, in Brisbane side, McLuggage can play on a wing. I know you probably don't want him to, but they can play inside, outside. Berry can kind of go inside, outside. There's a few of those that they can kind of switch around. So I don't know, maybe they just do one big rotation and each week someone plays something different. They've got the resources to actually do stupid shit like that.
So if he's scoring 104 points every 3 weeks, how does that help contending teams at the moment?
Probably doesn't though. Yeah, exactly. But you got to have him in a keeper league. Darcy Wilmot, 99 points. Is he one of yours? Is he?
Yeah, he is.
Since
a rookie hef. So.
Since a rookie, so you're really close to this guy. He was as close to being too good for the podcast without being too good for the podcast last season. I think he averaged 79. Got to be 80 to kind of make that mark. So I think he goes to 80 plus this season on the back of that performance.
Agree. Geez, he's as tough as nails. Got absolutely laid out.
Yeah, I did see that actually.
By someone there, and spent a little bit of time down on the haunches, but then was up in the next play.
It was Walter, wasn't it?
Kick. I think so.
Yeah, that's right. It was a big hit. He got straight back up.
Tell me about this next guy.
Lincoln McCarthy, the stink, I think they call him.
Yeah.
Had 89 points from 15 kicks, 3 marks and 2 goals. He played a bit of the game in defence. I think it was the first quarter and then went into attack pretty much after that. Almost like him and Kitty were kind of working out which end they play at. I think it felt like, and it might even be that they kind of have to choose between one of those guys, maybe even going into round 0 when they play. But he looked good at both ends. So last week when he played halfback as well, he looked pretty good. I think they both kicked 2 goals. So I don't really know how this pans out, but if he's playing that halfback role, he looks a bit more fruitful for fantasy. I don't like him at half forward as much, but again, the word I have heard is that he's likely to be playing a halfback role in the VFL, and he's the first one in when someone gets injured, basically.
It definitely feels like that. When the likes of the Brisbane backline who were missing is like Dodie, Zorko, Andrews, Lester, Payne, and Ainsworth. While some of those guys don't play full-time back there, a lot of them do. So there's a lot of names to go back into that area. But you're 100% right. He did look great with the footy when he was in transition through there as well. And a late flyer, is not the worst idea. You got him in
got him late. I don't think I reached too high, but yes, no, I did get him pretty late, I reckon. Was that?
Oh, I didn't think. I thought someone else snagged him up.
No, he's definitely on the Hoofers list. I think you might have got him in another league.
Oh, okay.
But no, I think the thing with him, I don't see a world where someone like Zorko plays 23 games this season. You know what I mean? They'll probably rest him every now and then, and there might be a few that do get rested, in this kind of side. And he's the perfect kind of streamer for those weeks if he is playing halfback that you can slot in your forward line and get a decent score from.
I agree. I think Zorko probably won't play all 23 games, but I reckon we've almost said that the last 2 years.
That's true.
Or the injury was going to happen or something, and then he proved us wrong and went on to show that observable thirst like he did in the first of the practice matches.
I think last year with Zorko, though, he needed to play every game to get to 300. So it might be a bit different this year. And given it's probably his last season, they might actually spare him a bit. So hopefully that's the case. Actually, not for me because I own Zorko as well. But anyway, Sam Closey had 87 points. On the wing, but you've got he had 12 CBAs.
Yeah.
So maybe it was inside and outside.
I don't think it was a purely outside sort of...
He gets a lot of the footy on the outside, though. That's the thing. But maybe just with a few players out of that midfield this week, they might have given a bit more of a run in there. Zeke not really doing much. I think Fiorini averaged pretty decent out on the outside for Suns last year, so it's not out of the realms of possibility that he could do it.
I agree. I like him as well. He has a good body type to be able to play that ultimate utility type of role. And the Suns have shown that the wing is not a completely dead zone for some of their players as well. So, especially with Fiorini going all right last year. So, again, he's definitely worth one of those guys. If he was your last midfielder on the ground or as a reserve, I don't sort of mind, especially considering how deep you need to go for mids in some drafts.
I think he's in their best 23, which he was out for a bit last season. Leo Lombard, next one, 71 points. Solid, but kicked 3 goals in this game. I don't think he'll be doing that each week, do you think?
Yeah, no, I don't think his midfield role is probably going to be consistent enough for him to score.
It looks like it. I already don't know how they fit all their mids into the midfield. Like when you think about Petrarca coming in, you've got your Anderson, your Rouse, you've got your Took Millers, you've got your Humphreys. it's pretty hard to actually get them all in there. Speaking of Took Miller, only 13% of the team CBAs kicked 2 goals, so he's getting forward status, isn't he? Do you think?
As you get me mid-mouthful of a glass of water. Yes, he's definitely going to have forward. What do you think he's going to score as a forward to be ultimate value for the players that do have him?
I think he'd have to go 80 plus, but I don't know if he gets there. I think he might be more of a 70, 75 kind of guy.
Even a 75 could be really solid score for what our forwards are looking like at the moment.
Yeah, that's true. It's just more so where he's probably likely going in drafts. He's probably taken a bit ahead of that, that's all.
Yep.
And Will Power, the midfield experiment continues. He had 64 points. He had 57% of the team CBAs. Just don't see him scoring, like I said, behind those guys. He's surely a VFL prospect, right?
Yeah, I mean, if he is in the team, it's more likely that he is down back. And if he is down back, he's probably not going to be the most attacking of halfbacks, especially when the likes of maybe a Rioli or a Noble or some of these guys are back there as well.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I've heard a lot of different talk and takes on different players, people playing different roles and stuff like that. So, yeah, like I said, we need to see when round 0 comes around and see how they actually line up. Let's get on to the Melbourne versus Richmond game. What a shit show this was. It's really hard to get a read on any of these players because the game was abandoned. If you missed it, there was 2 lightning stoppages and they ended up calling it off. So
they don't have lights at the ground strong enough to be able to have night footy there at an AFL level. So once it got to a certain stage, they were like, that's probably enough, guys. Got a huge boo from the crowd.
Did they play 3 games over there on the weekend?
They did.
That sounds like a bit of a mistake. But anyway, Caleb Windsor is the first one. He was dominating before the game got called off. In the midfield, got CBAs. Not really much else to really say. It's just really good signs for owners, don't you think?
If he's going to... Absolutely, yes. I think it's fantastic signs. I just don't think he's going to get to play Richmond every week.
That is 100% true. Because last week, even against North Melbourne, I think they played, he didn't look flash either. So
yeah, and North Melbourne were possibly the worst side to play during the preseason, except for
yesterday.
Except for yesterday, exactly.
So yeah, moving on to Chenkuth Jarth from there, 51 points. Was finding a bit of it across half back, 15 disposals, 4 marks. What do you think of Chenkuth Jarth?
Nah, waiver at absolute best. I'm not sure, even though they don't have a lot of players to come back in, especially with the likes of Stephen May having retirement and being replaced on the list over the last 24 hours. I'm just not really sure he's going to be that main distributor back there.
Nah, I think so as well. Even though he scored less, I like the look of Xavier Lindsay more. He only had the 45 points, but it's more that like the role that you want to see is that kind of half-back distributor. It's way more encouraging, I think, than Jarth.
This is the guy that you want to try and find your way to be able to have. He has the ability to find the ball on the inside when it is moving through that area, but his skills on the outside are exquisite as well.
Now, AFL.com.au had Kane McAuliffe as Richmond's most promising player throughout the preseason matches. 66 points out in the wing in this game, had 17 disposals and 7 marks. Just seemed to be finding a lot of space, good for a +6, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think he's going reasonably well in drafts. He's starting to pick up in the ADPs over the last few weeks. What are your thoughts on Kane McAuliffe? Would you be happy as an owner?
If I was an owner, yeah, absolutely. From the vision I sort of saw, and again, it was sort of a little bit broken up because of the time that the game was, but he did look like was a main beneficiary. He benefited a lot. That's not even a word, but he benefited. That's the one. Yeah. He benefited a lot from a couple of the lasso free kicks.
Yeah, it seems like wingers are getting a few of those kicks.
Yeah, well, that's where the ball's going to go out of bounds, and the free kick is going to come back in. So, so maybe that slightly inflated his score, and for this type of, because it was a bit windy there as well. But definitely something to keep in mind.
Jack Ross had 52 points. He's listed as a forward in the fantasy format. Quite a few CBAs. Do you think that keeps up as the season starts?
I think so, yeah. I think there's a lot of their junior guys are still going to need a chop out. Obviously, the likes of Cummings getting injured over the weekend as well just sort of shows that they are still brittle as they're building out their bodies. And I think Jack Ross is going to be the guy that is going to be able to spend more time in that rotation.
Yeah, I think so too. I think he averaged in the mid-70s last year. Do you think he pushes it up to the 80s?
Yeah, I agree. And especially the fact that he's got that forward status next to his name. I've got a feeling he went maybe first or second round.
Went first round in ours.
In our draft.
Yeah.
And,
12 keepers.
I think it just sort of shows that if maybe wasn't at that top level to be considered a keeper, but was going to be ultra valuable this year as a forward.
Yep, I think that was the case. Sam Lawler, 42 points. I think, again, just the positive is the eye test with the midfield role. He was the most used at the CBAs. He's a forward option this year. Do you think he has the breakout season, or do you think this is the year, kind of like a Harley Reid kind of second year where he just establishes himself? And
I think probably more the second, to be honest. I think he's still definitely going to be fieldable simply because he does have that forward status connection. But there's a lot of weight on his shoulders. The fact that he didn't play. He's looking to play his first full year after not completing one last year. He's got that small number 4 on his back as well. I think he's still going to be fieldable as a forward option, but will still probably look to grow.
Yeah, I think so as well. I reckon give him to his third season. That's when we'll see the true breakout. Sam Grill, the Sizzler, only the 39 points, but just again, those good signs. The run and carry off halfback. There was that one run and dash where he got around 2 players and broke a line. And
it's how he's playing. It's not necessarily just the score that he's getting, but he has that ability to break the line. You can see that. That's really going to help that junior side. And
those are always the players that they want the ball in their hands. So the fantasy scoring generally comes eventually. And Sam Cumming, unfortunately, had a shoulder injury. He's going to miss a month. We heard today. No Cumming for a month is the new rule. But anyway, he's going to be pretty good.
Moving on.
Western Bulldogs versus Hawthorn. Buku Karmas, what a gun. 91 points here. He was marking everything in defence. I'm not sure you can rely on that weekly, though. Do you think, Zanks?
No, I don't. There was a shot in the crowd of how many Bulldogs players were missing from that, and you kind of get the feeling that Buku's probably going to be back in the VFL.
I don't know about that. Like, if you look at their back line, like, it's got Lob and you've got the son of the cricketer, what's his name? O'Donnell. Yep. And then, like, it's not super stacked, you know what I mean? I could see a third tall role for him coming in. He could float across and get a few marks. I'm just not expecting 91s, that's all.
Yeah, but you've got the lobster, the rock lobster back there as well.
I mentioned him. Yeah, that was the 2 I mentioned. Who else is there? Oh. Exactly. So I reckon they're a bit light on for the key defenders, that's all. So I reckon they could actually, you could see a bit more opportunity back there. Riley Sanders and Joel Fraser, the next 2 I want to talk about, because both did a lot without having a heap of CBAs. I think Fraser had 7 and Sanders had 4. So, like, it's encouraging that they still put up good scores, but if they're playing, like, forward a fair bit, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, again, these classic wingmen that ended up folding back behind the play. Watching Sanders, he got an enormous amount of football as the ball came back out the other side after the Bulldogs defence won the ball from on the turnover, and he was able to sort of link up for 2 or 3 possessions in each of those chains as well. So his score did jump up. Probably the other call out to him is he was concussed as well. So
that's right.
He's got the mandatory time off at the moment. So if you do have him, you're going to have to look to replace it. Fraser was not too dissimilar as well, but was probably a little bit more proficient up forward as well.
Yeah, I think with Sanders, he'll only miss opening round, right? So probably not going to affect too many, hopefully.
Yeah, correct.
Let's move on to Connor Butterick. He had 81 points, and he used the ball pretty well off half-back. My thing with Butterick is everyone's worried about him being like a lockdown defender because he defends quite well. But in this game, there was a few questionable defensive things, like where he just like missed tackles or didn't get back on his man quick enough, stuff like that. The stuff that I think Bevo would absolutely pull his hair out over. So I don't know if it was just, like adjusting to a new system or whatever.
Is he best 23?
I think he's best 23, because especially with Dale being injured and stuff like that. But I'm just saying, like, if he doesn't pick up the defensive side of his game, I could see him being a Bevo enemy, that's all.
So Dale's meant to be back sort of maybe...
I think 4 weeks, isn't it?
No, I thought it was a bit earlier than that.
It was an MCL, that's all I know. I usually thought that was about 4 to 6. Haven't actually read the report, so...
If he can be in there for the first couple of weeks, maybe he has that ability to cement his spot, but I get the feeling that he's very borderline best 23 at best.
Connor Butterick, they traded for him. They gave quite a bit for him.
Yeah, they make clubs make trades all the time, and they don't tend to work out.
I think he's there just because they played Johannesson so much last year, who was missing. The only really replacements we'll talk about is like Lockie Jakes, who's a youngster, and he had 61 points, but didn't stand out as much this week. The other one's Michael Selwood, the mid-season draftee who played in their VFL grand final team, I reckon, but didn't get a debut. Those are the other options back there. I don't know. If I look at those 2, like, I think Butterick's ahead of those 2, but, we'll have to wait and see how the season progresses. That's all.
Time will tell.
Onto the Hawks. Jarman Impey, 101 points, 19 kicks, 6 handballs. We kind of know what he is. He's more of just a handy list filler, but he does put up these 100-plus scores.
He's not sexy, but I reckon he's actually really, really solid.
He's in the draft pool every year.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
but he's again, would he be one of those guys that would be on the video game cover of this podcast?
He'd be close, I reckon.
He'd be really up. He'd be close to being up there. But I think he's the way that Hawthorn look to move the ball and the speed they're trying to move it at. He does get himself involved with a couple of the change of possession.
Moving on to Josh Ward, 97 points. Wasn't used as much as the CBAs. It was only 7, but played well. Just found a heap of it just around the ground, kind of moving into that kind of midfield after the CBA, I think. I reckon he'll step up this season. If he can do that with minimal opportunity, he should be fine.
He's definitely still winning the ball from the stoppage. It just happened that he was not the first or second distributor from that and got it on the outside. Yeah,
and like I said, if the stoppage points are going to dry up, then maybe he's one of the players that does actually benefit from the new rules.
Yeah.
Connor McDonald had 86 points, still in that midfield. Sam Mitchell still being a troll. Talking about, just hear him on SEN, talking about where he's going to start, where he's going to play and what positions he's going to be in.
The biggest trouble with Connor is there's so much salary cap talk about him because of his price. So it feels like while he could go really well this year, I think that seems to be the minimum expectations because of the amount of chatter in the community.
Yeah, and therefore trade value is going to be high. ADP is going to be high for him and that sort of stuff as well. So he's kind of a bit of a moot pick in the end, isn't he? Josh Weddle is the next one. 55 points. Had 13 CBAs for those 55 points. I'm just not sure he's really a quantity type player. You know what I mean? Even if he is given the nice roles.
Yep, agreed. Massive impact player.
Yeah, exactly. St Kilda versus Essendon. Marcus Windhager playing off the halfback. I did say he was going to have a 90 to 95 average season this year. Maybe I was underestimating. Maybe it's going to be
140. Yeah, you're only almost about half under it. So
well, he's got to score 140 every week to average 140. Yeah. But I'm not sure what this looks like come the season though, because like. In the preseason, it kind of looked like they had stints where Windhager was on the halfback, Flanders on the halfback, Nazai could go back there. Like they might just rotate those guys one off halfback each week, and someone gets the big score. What do you think?
There was so much footy off the halfback line. I think Sinclair had 140 odd, or in the high 140 odds. So I think you got to remember, as we sort of said before, they were playing Essendon. And while Essendon played Richmond in the first round and made themselves look good, I think they're not going to have that type of opposition every week. And so I think St Kilda just did what they liked with the ball off halfback as well.
Yeah, I think that's probably the case. Mitch Owens, he had a good game. He kicked 2 goals for 90 points. Again, like you said, though, I want to see him do it against a good opposition.
Yeah, I love Mitch Owens. I reckon he could be one of those massive impact players through the middle of the ground, but then they end up using him as a ruckman all the time.
I think I put him in my ranks as, he won't be rucking this season, but I put him in my ranks as just, the sentence just says I've written off Mitch Owens. I think it caused a lot of people not to draft him. But anyway, Mateus Philippou had 76 points. Like, it's just good to see him high in that CBA rotation, even if the score wasn't huge. I think we're going to see that midfield role happen this season.
Yep.
And our boy, Jack Carroll, I think one of us drafts him every year.
Yep.
59
points.
That's
who I got off you this year.
That's right. That's where it was too. The halfback role was there once again. Just, like you said, there's a lot of ball off the halfback and he didn't get a huge share of it. And then you've got Sinclair, Windhager, and like I said, maybe even Flanders and Naz rotating back there at times as well. Might not score well with those guys back there.
I mean, it's just a matter of if his opportunity and it's his week to score, if that makes sense. So I think there's going to be so much ball bouncing around off the back there. You've only got to have someone like a Sinclair tagged and he's able to jump up 10, 15, 20 points in that round. It's one of those ones being able to maybe have a loophole or a streamer at those types of areas as well.
Yep. No, I agree. Let's move on to the Essendon players. We've got Archie Roberts first on the list. 106 points from the 55% CBAs. Is the midfielder Roberts role real?
I don't think so, but geez, it just goes to show that he can win the ball as the contested area. He can win it as the non-contested area.
It's a good play.
He has the ability to range a very high score.
The thing I will say is, like, they've got Farrow, they've got Zak Johnson, who's looking pretty good. We'll talk about Zak Johnson a bit more in a second. Look, off that halfback line that they probably want to move in there. Like, Merritt only had the 10 CBAs. We saw him move into some different roles. Could there be a shuffling of the deck chairs on the Titanic that is Essendon?
No. I think that the short answer will be no. Merritt is still going to be the number one banana in
Well, I think the chicken, they call him these
chicken.
days.
Sorry, the number one chicken in the pecking order there. But look, I mean, it doesn't mean that Archie can't score, but let's not expect 100 plus average.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if he plays half back, he still can score pretty well, but yeah, maybe not the 100 plus.
Yeah.
Lockie Blackiston had 86 points. He's clearly their number one ruck, and he's going to be huge defender scorer probably the first 5 rounds. But like, if he's dominating as a ruckman, when dominating, I use that loosely, do they rush Brian back, or do they give him a bit of extra time in the VFL, or what's the go?
Look, I think that's what if he is being able to produce at a certain level in the rucks. Maybe they give Nick Bryan maybe 1 to 2 more weeks to be able to recover. So that is possible, but this is, if you're playing salary cap, he's going to be one of your guys that's almost first picked in your side, but I'm not 100% sure, especially if you're a contender, that you're sort of looking in that direction.
Yeah, I do have him in my team. I'm looking forward to playing him for the first 5 weeks, that's for sure. But yeah, might have to move him out after that. Zak Johnson is the next one. We talked about him just before, 86 points. I had him as a stash option on the podcast earlier in the year, but I think he might be a breakout option with that half-back role. We're just not really sure what's going on with Roberts, like we mentioned, but he's showing some good signs, isn't he?
Again, another one of those players I think you've got to keep a really short leash on and a keen eye on, but maybe if he's scoring 86 points against this and having the ball back against this type of opposition, definitely worth keeping in mind.
Just a few rookies to talk about. Dyson Sharp, he looked ready for AFL, especially body-wise. I just have my doubts he's going to be a huge scorer. I think he played a fair bit of time on ground but didn't put up a huge score. And then Jacob Farrow plays a nice role for fantasy, but only had 3 kicks and 8 handballs from 50% time on ground. It just really didn't fill me with confidence as a scorer straight up. Not like the breakout guy we might have thought he was earlier.
You're not picking these guys to score huge this year. You're picking them with what they could do further down the track.
Does have the Jordan Dawson tag though, Jacob Farrow, so that's a good one for the future. Yeah. Freemantle versus Adelaide. I'm really hoping that you watched some of this game because I was at a music festival, which I'm still feeling right now. So I didn't see any of this game.
Look, it was windy.
Okay.
There was a couple of times where
at the music festival. Yeah, it was. Rainy too.
Where the ball got kicked out from full back and went over the centre.
Oh wow!
Centre circle.
With a torp or
no, just a drop punt. Just nice. Putting it so that the wind was very very controlling during the game.
Fremantle doctor was in full effect.
Come on.
I just had to throw a Perth reference in there. Let's get on to Josh Tracy. He kicked 5 goals. I think I got him mixed up with Amos last week. I said Tracy kicked 4 and I think it was Amos, so apologies for that. But this week Tracy did kick 5 goals. I said that earlier, if Fremantle are a contender, their scoring will need to lift. And that means guys like Tracy should score better, right?
Yep, agreed. Yeah. I think as a key forward, they're always going to have those bigger and smaller games. To be fair, I think Adelaide's lineup was quite soft this week with the amount of outs that they had, especially down back. But their ability, if he can score in the 3 to 4 goals, I think he can be very fieldable in our forward zone at the moment.
Just looking, Josh Tracy actually went 3rd round in our draft, but he did go to a Fremantle supporter, so that probably says a lot.
Yeah.
Hayden Young had 99 points. He was the most used player in the midfield behind Jackson, who was ruck and midfield, I'm led to believe. What do you think of Hayden Young? Is this encouraging, or are you not sold yet? What do you think?
No, I think there's a lot to like about Hayden Young. It's just a matter of how he fits in that pecking order, especially if someone like Sarong and Brayshaw have fallen back a little bit from the last 2 years of production, and having someone like Hayden Young in there, is he going to steal share? I think so, but it's just a matter of what that ceiling is going to be.
Yeah, I agree. Neil Erasmus.
This guy.
Neil Erasmus, 86 points. I'm assuming he spent most of the game on the wing because he wasn't on the CBA numbers. I think he had 1 CBA.
Correct.
Just seeing a few wingers score okay, another one this preseason games. What do you think?
Yeah.
Any chance?
Again, I think he was really good. He was the ability for him to work through the transition ball was pretty solid as well. Again, how many people through their midfielder they're likely to be able to have, especially if they've got the three chickens, as I mentioned before.
Yep.
And then him being in there as well.
No, I agree. Judd McVie looked very locked down, I think.
Yeah.
Didn't score very well.
This is one of my massive misses already in my draft season. I had him pigeonholed as maybe one of those guys that could be interceptor, but it looks like they're using him as a complete lockdown player.
Well, the thing is, like, he came out in that interview and said he was playing as a halfback distributor, but
Scumbag.
I think he's said that every year, even when he was at Melbourne.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Josh Rochelle, moving on to the Crows, 72% CBAs. He had the most CBAs ahead of McAndrew. Is it real though? No Peatling, no Rankin at the moment. Do we trust a spike in scoring is going to happen this season?
I think he'll definitely have a spike this year, but he won't have that level of centre ball up attendances. So like he will spend more time around the footy rather than just being up forward. But considering how many of the Crows were missing from this round, especially no Saligo, no. You said no Peatling, no Rankin.
Yeah.
Jordan Dawson wasn't a huge player in that type of role yesterday as well. I think he will have a bump. He'll be super fieldable as that forward, but I don't think he's going to be that uber premium in the midfield that people think that he might be.
Yeah, I think this is a bit of a red herring. Is that the phrase?
Yeah, we'll go with that.
Yeah, that'll do. Josh Worrell had the 88 points. I think he can actually be an 80-plus guy. I wasn't sure if he had too much more in him, but if the Crows aren't going to be as good as they were last season, like I'm not saying they're going to be terrible, but are they going to be a top team type thing? They just might see the ball in their defence a little bit more, and he gets a lot of kick-ins and stuff like that. So I reckon he's got a 5 point per game bump in him.
I think that's fair. He definitely, as long what I'd like to see from him is him not literally just turn around on his left and bang it down try and bang it out of the defensive 50. Take a little bit more control in the ball because he'll actually more likely be able to dispose of it and then get it back, which will help his fantasy score.
Well, hopefully he does that more then as well.
Tell me, come on, I can see a name on the list next.
Lachlan McAndrew?
Yes.
I can't tell you anything because I didn't watch the game. But 81 points. I think he's just locked in for round one as the first ruck, isn't he?
Yeah, he has to be.
And isn't there a quote this week that now Toby Murray is now ahead of Rob?
Yeah, I think Toby Murray is going to be the second ruck, which is their head of football from the Crows has mentioned that's probably what they'll go with round one.
How the turntables?
The tables have turned. Yeah. Has anyone got out to see him yet to teach him how to jump?
No. Someone is just head out to West Lakes and just teach Rob how to bend his legs and then straighten them really fast.
Just really fast.
All you got to do. All you got to do. Anyway, Luke Pedlar, he had 76 points. Is there anything special about his role? Is this just like a one-off good performance? Because like a few people mainly on Facebook, a lot of Crow supporters on Facebook, I've noticed, are really tipping him for a breakout season.
Yeah, I'm one of them.
Yep.
So
You're
I think
on Facebook a fair bit.
Yeah, it suits my demographic. No, I think the penny looks like it might have dropped with someone like Pedlar. This has to be his year, or I can see him really not being able to push on from there. He did kick a couple of goals here, and that's why his score has sort of jumped up a little bit there. But I can definitely see him being more in the forward distributor type of role where he's getting up the ground to be able to link up in transition.
Tell me about Charlie Edwards. I played junior footy with a guy called Charlie Edwards, but it's not this guy, I don't think.
Yeah.
Why is he getting midfield opportunity? What's going on here?
Again, I feel like this is how skinny we were with regards to our selection, especially with the likes of Curtin, Draper, Peatling, Rankin, all of these guys being out of the midfield. I think he's had an absolute stellar preseason, but again, he's sort of in that second, third year mould and being able to get a run to be able to see what he can do. I think he's
a bit
also
of reward for effort, you reckon?
Yeah, he's definitely a favourite of Nixie as well. So,
okay. He's like 190 centimetre mid, isn't he? Like he's a big fella, so he could develop into something.
He's sort of been playing a little bit off halfback as well, but
Yep. All right. Well, there's one to put in your black books for the future, I think. North Melbourne versus Collingwood game, another one down at Ballarat. Tom Blamires. I read that.
Thank God you had to read that one. There was no way I
swear
would
it should
have
be
got
pronounced
that right.
Blamires.
Yeah.
But anyway, Tom Blamires only signed last week. I think he did play the practice match last week. Didn't count his stats because I had no idea who he was until about three-quarter time because the commentators...
You didn't count his hefts?
No, I didn't count his hefts. Well, the commentators were that bad. They couldn't tell who anyone was. Anyway, 92 points in this game. Had a half-back role, but no McKercher or Hardman in the side. So
play round one?
If neither McKercher or Hardiman aren't fit, I reckon he might. But yeah, I just would like to see them with a full complement of everyone together. But it was a very promising start to his career, that's for sure.
They have so much talent back there. Surely this type of player isn't best 23. But if injuries have knocked other blokes out, then I think that's his best option. And if he plays like that, there's no reason to say that he can't cement a spot in his side after that.
I think the positive for him is, like, even if you look last season, we still saw a fair bit of Harry Sheezel in defence at the start of the year. We're not going to see Sheezel in their defence at all this season. So, like, there's going to be an extra spot for, at least some of the year type thing back there, and he could be one that benefits. But like I said, there's still probably 2 guys to come into that side, and let's see how he goes with those 2 guys in there. Lockie Dobeston, he kicked 3 goals. He keeps getting those, like, wizard comparisons, Nick Watson comparisons, but, like, every time someone brings it up, he's like, nah, he's his own player. He obviously doesn't like them. But anyway, I think he'll be the same sort of scorer in fantasy, that's for sure.
Yep.
Finn O'Sullivan had 20 CBA, so he's right in the midfield mix. I think he only had a 75-ish score. I didn't write it down. But I think he can definitely be a 70 to 75 player as a defender, which isn't too bad.
They have huge reps on him this year.
I've said this on the podcast a few times. My North source, which is works very closely with Finn O'Sullivan, reckons he is going to be their breakout star this year.
Yeah, and you can tell. Sorry, when I say the reports, I'm not necessarily just saying the connected reports of the keeper league, but just hearing it from so many other different places that this guy is about to really rip in, take his opportunity, and I can see he's got that class and that pedigree to be a really great player.
Is he a quantity player or like a quality player?
I don't think he's going to be a massive quantity player, but I still think he has the opportunity to get enough to be a reasonable scorer for where you're probably looking and getting him in drafts, and especially if you're not going deep drafts, you've probably been thrown back to the pool and these types of stuff, so that you can look to try and grab him that way.
I was a bit upset when he was kept in our league because he was someone I was going to target. But anyway.
You made the rules, Hef, so don't get angry.
Yeah, that's true. Right. Anyway, I wasn't angry. I was just upset that he actually he qualified for this team. Luke Parker was playing across halfback, only the 53 points, but that's just a role watch to think about.
He will play any position that keeps him in the league.
Hopefully it's fruitful for him. Are we worried about... I know he's too good for the podcast, but he might not be for too long. Are we worried about Cherry with the rules now?
There are alarm bells, red flags.
Going off everywhere.
There is all sorts of issues here.
So he had way more CBAs than Callum Coleman-Jones. So last week there was a bit of a ruck share. So I was like, that's the reason why he wasn't scoring so well. But I think for Cherry, it's just one of those things. He needs to get those big tackle numbers to score well. Those come from stoppages, and if there's less stoppages, there's less opportunity for him.
Yeah, I think some of the stats I saw from his scoring on the weekend was very much down in the stoppage and up with regards to the transition points.
Well, he was taking marks. He never takes marks.
But his total points were a lot down.
Yeah,
he's going to have to really, really be able to build that out to be a scorer. And there are huge warning signs going on here.
I think so as well. He still just went second round in that draft we're doing. So
yeah, but there was also, I think there was we're up against some 8 and 10-year-olds.
That's true. We've got some mates' kids in the league, so that could be the reason. Maybe I shouldn't be so harsh. All right, Ed Allen is moving on to Collingwood. 83 points, didn't find a heap of it, but had 7 tackles. He was playing on Dylan Stephens as well. Yep. He's just a bit of a player that's just been eye test. Like, he looks like he's a different player this year from the first 2 games. Just more mature, like thickened out, that sort of stuff.
Exactly the word I was going to use. It looks like he's actually got the AFL body now to be able to play and to be able to dominate the footy. Maybe not dominate, but you get the understanding of where we're coming from. Just a matter of how they go and how they transition into their new game plan as they move a few players out.
Patrick Lipinski had 83 points. I'd written him off, but he was highly used in the CBAs. But been saying for a while that Collingwood needs to promote a mid. But when I was saying that, I kind of forgot that DeGoey was to come back this season. And in this side, like, they had no Dacos, no Nick Dacos, that is, no DeGoey, no Pendles, no Sidebottom. So he's probably not going to get that forward midfield role. It's probably just out of necessity that they played him there yesterday.
Yep, agreed.
Ned Long, 81 points. I think this is what he goes at, around that 80 mark. Do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's his role.
Yeah, really fair.
Let's go on to West Coast versus Port Adelaide, the last game of the round. Is it too early to whisper premiership? Or
yeah. The amount of membership sold this week has obviously skyrocketed for Port Adelaide. This was one of the worst games I've ever watched.
Yeah.
West Coast are so bad.
I couldn't believe how bad they were.
I know it's really hard to go through an entire season without winning a game. They were so bad. I saw Port Adelaide kicked 11 goals in the second quarter.
Yep.
3 of them were just walked to the line and being escorted in to kick a goal.
That's just Josh Carr's transition play coming to fruition.
Yeah, that's what it was. It had nothing to do with West Coast turning the ball over in an impossible to defend area. But anyway.
The thing with West Coast is there's always some encouraging signs from a few players, but they're just not going to score well as a team. No. You'll have 2 or 3 players in their side who average 80 plus, and it's probably going to be Reid, McCarthy, and one other. And then the rest will be 70s and below. Last year, I had Brady Hoff, and it's yes, he's getting a midfield role. It's going to be great for his scoring. He's listed as a fender. Could barely muster up a 60 most weeks. They just don't win enough of the footy.
It's not that they don't win the footy; it's that they don't hold on to it for long enough. Their chains are so short. Yeah. Their ability to actually amass possession and thus score from that is obviously diminished. So they still win the footy, but then give it straight back. And it ends in the opposition having a score.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know. I just don't see... again, so many people get excited about Devon Robertson. They're getting excited about Finn McRae, all this sort of stuff. So it's
the thing about Devon Robertson, I would say, is that there is going to have to be someone scoring points.
Oh, yeah. And I said it's going to be Reid and McCarthy. That's it. If
Robbo's a forward, 70 to 75 score could actually be really quite fieldable for how our forwards are looking. You can see Harley and McCarthy scoring mid-80s, sort of thing. And then there's going to be a whole range of players that are in the middle 70s to 80s.
I've got written here, we did see encouraging signs from Dev Robertson. That 73 was with 4 frees against as well, so it should have been an 85, really. Yep. Finn McRae had 71. They're going to be players that be handy some weeks, but then probably putrid the next. That's probably the way it's going to be, like it was last season for most West Coast Eagles players. Harley Reid had the 82 points. Tom McCarthy had the 77 points. That's probably what they go at this season. They're their kind of main midfielders now. Then you got someone like Josh Lindsay, who had 76 points coming off the half-back. That was pretty encouraging.
I thought he looked great. It's just a matter of how much he's going to have to spend his energy defending rather than being able to use that lovely left foot that he has.
That goalie kick was very nice. Kind of showed you the class that he had and the type of user he was with the footy. And then Willem Dersma also looked encouraging. They're just obviously going to be good investment players. It's just going to take time. Same with Cooper Duff-Tytler, 35, but always going to be a long-term kind of play.
Agreed. And then you've got this guy here.
Elliot Yeo, 47 points. He's playing forward. I don't think he even had a CBA. No. But is this just to get him back playing footy? Surely. So surely he goes back in the midfield eventually. And does that mean he gets forward status in the first 5 rounds, and then we have a serviceable midfielder later on in the season? And he's, a forward? Is that a play?
No, but definitely not a play.
Yeah.
If you're you heard me. If you're contending, I can see someone like Elliot Yeo being a target because you're going to be able to buy lower than what his overall, especially if you're going to buy him within that first 6 rounds. But he could go on to be a great scorer. And is he a retirement year, or has he got another 7-year contract?
I don't know what the go is with him. I've always thought he's close to retirement anyway, just because given how much the body
collapses. Can we move
collapses.
on to some Port players, please?
I just want to mention that Eagles did sign an SSP, Milan Murdoch. Averaged 105 in the waffle last season with some big individual scores. So just he was the second most picked up player off the waivers today in all leagues. So I just thought I'd throw that out there for anyone that missed it. If you want to go grab him, you can. I'm not encouraging it.
Is that on your socials or?
I don't think I made the post because it only got announced, I think, after I added to the game later. So I didn't actually get that one on. I'm not sure. I'll have to go back and have a look. Willem Drew on support players, 104 points from about 60% time on ground. Had a heap of mid-time, then rested. I think he goes back to 80 plus this season, but I guess the warning signs are there was no Bergman or no Wines there, but he still averaged 78 last season with kind of losing his kind of inside role and spending more time on the wing, so he should be around that mark anyway. So
even if he's not in the stoppage, he finds his way.
Well, he always starts on the wing and just gets in there. It just kind of continues on from there. Jackson Mead had 93 points off the half-back. The thing is, we've seen Jackson Mead play half-back last season for the last 5 games and didn't score well. And then yesterday had Rosie in the midfield all day with Wines, Bergman coming back into the side, Horn Francis. There's no way Rosie doesn't go back to that half-back line. And it probably eats up all Mead scoring, wouldn't you think?
Yep. Yeah, agree. I don't actually know how much we're going to get out of this game.
Yeah,
it was the proper, I want a tune-up game before the preseason ends. Let's pick the high school from down the road that's only got 6 players.
Pretty much.
So,
because even Jace Burger went 83 points, but he was on the wing most of the day, which we saw halfback last week.
Yep.
The wing rotations were Ware, McKinlay, and Burgoyne. I think Logan Evans played halfback. He scored 68. So it's like we don't really know what that's going to look like. Todd Marshall had 82 points, but he took 10 marks, and you can't play West Coast every week and just intercept like that.
Do you think he can work? Do you think him, the old Stuart Calorie version of if you can't play forward, try and back sort of thing? Or
I think it kind of worked because, if you key defensive stocks are probably our weakest part of our side. We've got a pretty good midfield. Mitch Georgiades looks like he's going to be a breakout key forward. Where we fall down is we've got Alir, who's okay, he's an All-Australian, but then we've got Asava Radagalia. We've got Harrison Ram, who's a young fella. So, Todd Marshall is a good senior body. He looks like he's put on a bit of size for this role as well, who can go back there and take a mark. So I think he's probably best served as a third tall. And I don't think he's going to be a fantasy scorer, so I don't know why we're bothering talking about him. Like I said, you can't play West Coast each week, but I think he'll work in football terms. And then Mitch Georgiades told us everything we need to know about him. 79 points from 6 goals, and you don't crack an 80. So there will be games where he does put up huge scores, but there will be games where he does low scores as well. So yeah.
Perfect.
Let's finish it off. Let's get through some listener questions. He said this is from Essendon 3040, which is coincidentally the next time Essendon will win a final in 3040.
They'll win a final this year. It'll be from 10th.
10th, that's right. Ruined it. I want to contend in my league this year. Which 2 would you keep out of Zorko, Windhager, Bergman, Fletcher, Fraser, Graham, Fiorini, and Rochelle? Looking at that, Zorko if you're contending, surely.
Surely.
You're keeping Zorko.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the rest, and I think most of them are 80 maxes, except for Windhager, who I've said is going to be 90 to 95. So I'm keeping Windhager out of those 2.
Yeah, I like Fletcher.
You do like Fletcher.
I've had him for a long time in another rookie.
You raised him.
Born and raised him. Part of it is there is almost a little bit of handcuff about it as well, because if Zorko does go down, you've then got... But I think that they can both score separately anyway.
Well, you already saw Fletcher put up an 83 average last season, was that right?
The only other one is possibly Rochelle, simply because he's a forward.
Yeah, I don't mind that, actually.
And if the Crows don't have the greatest version of health, especially in the first couple of weeks, he could be that difference maker in a really close league.
Yep, I don't mind that. AFL Fantasy Observer wants me to rank these 5 prospects for the next 2 years, and then again for 5 years. He's not asking for much, is he? No, he's all right. He's good. He helped me out with the fantasy counting scoring stats the other week. He's a good dude.
Counting hefts.
Yeah, the hefts. That's right. So he wants to rank Grill, Zeke Hewland, Sharp, Lindsay, and Arnable. Grill has rocketed up to my favourite rookie, I think, from that halfback line. So I'm going to put Grill first in the short term. Then Lindsay. I reckon those halfbackers will develop into good scorers before the midfielders will. I reckon I'm getting a wink from Zanks because he took him with pick 2 in our draft. And then I like Hewland because he's got the golden tag. Then Arnable, who I just haven't liked what I've seen so far. And Sharp because I just think he's going to be a good inside player but not a big accumulator, that's all. And so that's my 5 for there. And then for the 5 year, I'm going to put Lindsay number 1 because I reckon he'll develop, once West Coast get out of their stank, he should be the best halfback flanker in the league, I reckon. So, or maybe not the league, but he'd be up there. And then Grill probably second and then the same order, really. So that's the way I'm looking at. Would you do anything differently?
Yeah, no, pretty similar. The only possible change I would probably look at would be in that 2 year one where you've got Grill and Lindsay. I think Lindsay could possibly be the best fantasy scorer out of the entire draft from that year.
Have you been listening to this podcast?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, someone's been spruiking that.
Yeah. I think he's probably going to be almost the best player that West Coast picked out of that draft as well.
Yeah, so, I don't mind that.
So not just fantasy, I think just actually quality of player as well. He's going to make a massive difference for them when they do start to be able to hang on the ball.
Yeah, they need to play like him.
And because of that, they'll get the ball in his hands more often. So fantasy-wise, it'll be great.
Sorry?
I don't mind Animal. I think that you can probably throw...
I was thinking about bumping him higher for the 5 year one. Yeah.
He's going to be at that stage where he's probably going to have more opportunity than what will be going on in the Gold Coast midfield at that stage, especially unless a Rowell or an Anderson leave to go to Tassie or something like that. But I still think Annabelle will be a really great scorer. It just means that he just hasn't shown anything. And we expect now as fantasy coaches to have our rookies come in and make a concerted effort and an impact straight away.
Yeah, I think that's probably a bit of the case because we've been spoiled over the last few years. I think it probably shows the closeness of this draft as well. It's kind of like throw a blanket over them, and it's very hard to project who's going to be the best one, unlike the last few years when we had some few standouts and it was easy to tell. Scott Warwick wants to know, who are the sleepers on waivers? You have the role to be solid fantasy scorers this season. And I'm not really sure if he means waivers in a keeper league or waivers in a single season draft. I did put out a waiver request from the weekend because there's a few sneaky coaches out there that are putting in waiver requests before the season starts after of what they've seen over the weekend.
Where do you stand? Should the waivers be open before round one?
Oh, if you're in a keeper league, my stance is that you don't have waivers on at all. You do your research, you do your draft, and then that's the end of it. You don't get a second chance.
If you do have waivers in your competition, should they be closed off or should they be only come open
No,
round one?
I think it's fair game because you are using up your priorities if you play budgets like Fab. Yep. You're spending cash. Like I think it's fair. You're going early. You're taking a punt. Like, I don't mind it too much. But yeah, looking at that list, most picked up players this week were Blamires, Hollands, Elijah Hollands, that is, Jackson Mead, Todd Marshall, Wayne Millerer, Wayne Dirksen, Zak Johnson, Mitch Georgiades, and Josh Lindsay, who somehow, I guess that's probably got single season. No, that's keeper leagues as well, which is a bit strange. But yeah, so they're the most picked up waivers. I did have a look at some of the single season ADPs, and the guys that are either going undrafted or very late are guys like Zak Johnson, Lockie Jakes, Link the Stink McCarthy, Hugh Boxall, Sam Marshall, Ed Allen. They're all going super late or not getting drafted at all, which I think could offer some value this season. So
yeah. I like Marshall. I think he's one of those guys that he's slowly been building into the Lions, and it's a hard lineup to crack.
Yeah.
Has some pedigree as well. He
was one of my favourites out of that last year's draft. I think it was last year's. Yeah. So definitely. And the last question of the night, Matthew Sammartino wants to know, he's got a ruck problem. He currently has Vicentini and Darcy, and it says, do I stick that out and pick up Brian in a few weeks who is performing out the worst out of the two, or trade in one of the players below, which are Fort, Riccardi, Madden, Moyle, Reeves? He said this is a single season, so it's not a keeper league. But like the ones he's listed there, how many of them are best 23? Maybe Riccardi. So Riccardi be serviceable because he's got forward status as well, so it's not the worst option. But I would probably just get Brian and hopefully you mean Dante Vicentini, but I reckon he might mean Vigo. I don't know.
I'm not sure either of them are a fantastic sort of option.
Well, I think Dante actually will play.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So if you've got Dante and you can ride that out until Brian comes back, I'd probably do that. Otherwise, I'd probably trade in Riccardi. That's probably the best option, don't you think? Yeah. Anyway, I think that's it for this week. That's all the questions we got. Thank you, Zanks.
Been amazing to be here.
Back in Studio Hef. First time ever in Studio Hef, even though we've done that many podcasts together in the past. But anyway, good to have you back in Adelaide, mate. And hopefully we hear you on the podcast a bit more this season. Where can our listeners find you?
Still, I suppose, on AFL Stats, mate, on X or Twitter or whatever it's called these days. We've got something coming, but it's just a matter of, I've been saying that for a little while, but we're closer than we've ever been before.
About 8 years now, I reckon.
About 6 years, but yeah, we're closer than we've ever been before. So there'll be something coming out. So if you feel like giving us a listen, giving us a follow, that'd be great.
All right, get around our stuff at Keeper League Pod on all the socials. Could be bothered listing them. Make sure you're watching these on YouTube this week if you actually want to see the visuals. Putting in some like cool graphics and stats and stuff like that into it. So it takes hours to edit, but the views are going up, so it's probably working.
Hey, it's all for the gram.
I think we cracked 2,000 views on YouTube, which never happened last week. So it's probably a good sign. I should keep doing it, even though it takes heaps more effort. But yeah, it's good fun to kind of do all that sort of stuff, and hopefully the listeners are enjoying that. Make sure you get around our sponsors, Keeper, move all your leagues over there, sign up, help Ryan out. And then what's the other thing I got to plug? The Discord server going off. I think we're getting close to 600, or we've just passed 600 members there. And I think the Facebook Gold members group, I think, is pushing 1,000 as well. So doing okay there as well. So make sure we're getting around those groups and getting around the community and all chatting to one another. Anyways, that's it for this week. Thanks once again, Zanks. And we'll talk to you next week. Bye. Enjoy opening round.